guys, it's John with Longhaul Lifesavers, and today we're going to show you how to turn this into that. So we're in our friend Kim's RV, and the reason we had to make this little trap door was because her USB port on the side of her bed actually burned up and went bad. We found that the only way to actually replace these is to take off this side paneling on her slide and then take off the top side piece where she would rest a drink or something like that. That would allow you to get your hand back in here and replace this USB port. We didn't want to go through all that, and if we had to replace it in the future, it was going to be a pain. So I figured we could make a little trap door. That way we can open it and just replace it whenever we need to. You can also put shelves in here and storage if you need to. I didn't, but you could do it in the future if you wanted to. So let's get into how we make this. So what we're going to need for this project today is a board. Depending on whatever size the side railings of your nightstand, I guess is what we're calling it, are, you'll have to measure that and cut it out to length. We drilled a 1-inch hole with a hole saw to fit the new USB port. We also have a cable here to keep it from opening up all the way, especially in tow. It could open up all the way and smack against the closet doors. That's probably really loud.
Sorry guys, the AC just kicked on.
So it could smack your glass doors, or it could smack your wall and do damage. So we just have a little tensioner cable in here. We also have a clasp, much like in our cabinet doors, to keep it shut. We also have 3 hinges to bear the weight of this board. What we're going to have to do first is we're going to have to take off the trim pieces on the current nightstand so that we can mount this where the trim pieces are currently. Kim does have a very important question for you, and it's about this pillow. What do you think of this pillow with her new bedspread? She doesn't like it. I think the blue goes really well with the blanket. She likes it turned this way, but I think it should be turned the other way. So drop a comment below. Tell us what you think. While this is technically demolition, you want to be careful because you don't want to damage these side frame pieces. All we want to take out is the centerpiece and then the trim that surrounds that centerpiece. This one is glued in, so it's going to take a little force to kind of pry this out. And then these side trim pieces are just nailed in, so we'll pry those out with the crowbar. As you can see here, this is the centerpiece we're taking out, and these trim pieces on both sides, top and bottom, that we're going to be taking out. It's going to be a tight space. We're not saving this piece, just so you know. Centerpiece is free. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pry these side pieces off. Alright, side trim pieces are out. Now there are nails, brads left in here. You're going to want to make sure you pull those out, because if you reach in there, you're going to scratch the crap out of your hand. And once I think they're all out, what I like to do is just run my pliers along the edge to make sure that I don't miss any. If I missed any, it would have caught my pliers and I would have known. When I'm working on parts that we may have to interchange out multiple times, I don't like to use butt connectors, which is just the hollow tube and then you crimp the 2 wires together. What I like to use are these male and female connectors, and they're quick disconnect, so that way when I have it plugged in, if it goes bad, I can just unplug it and then replace the part that I need with the identical plugs that are already on it. It saves wire and it saves time. So I get these on Amazon. These also have solder in the crimp joint, so you can crimp it down, and then after you heat it up with the torch, it also solders the wire to the main connector. This USB port actually isn't bad. It was the only the other one that went bad. So we're just going to reuse this. What we want to do is go ahead, you want to remember these wires and what color goes to what. So our black goes to white and red goes to black, because that makes a lot of sense. But
If you forget, take a picture of it before you unhook them.
Yes. Go ahead and we're going to cut these wires. Now you want to cut, since this one's good, we want to save as much wire here as we can so that way we get more space. We're going to cut right at the edge of each of these wires. So we'll go ahead and cut this out, take out the USB, and then this board, we can just throw that away. So let's get that cut. If you save this connector, this is actually a good reference point, so you can see one end is white, the other end is black. So if you save one of these before you hook it up again, you can know which wire goes to what. I'm going to take out the USB. This system, this threaded system here, is pretty simple. You just do a 1/4 turn, and now it's loose. It's free, so you can just pull it off. Slide this out. Now we're free to do whatever, and this can be thrown away. I'm going to go ahead and get our wires spliced, crimped, everything ready to go, and then we'll put the door on, slide this through, get it all connected, and we're done. Another good tip when you're working with electric, you don't want these two wires to touch. These two here, the red and black, or the white and black, because it could make an arc, could shock you if you don't have your power off. I use these two because it has a plastic housing around it. So if they touch, they're not going to touch metal to metal and not create any kind of arc. Put the male ends onto this because this isn't connected to power, so it's not going to spark anything. So this is what we like to use on this side. What we're going to do is we're going to take the mini torch and heat up that solder in there and heat up the shrink wrap. Make sure everything's sealed and connected. And you can see the solder in here will melt. You're not going to be able to see it on the camera, but if you do end up getting these, you'll know it's good, and you can see the solder melt and spread out into your wires, so you know it's good and connected. So once these are soldered and done, they're still hot, so just set it aside so you don't burn yourself. Let it cool. Now we're going to move on to the actual power wires. Now that we have all of our connections done, there's no point in plugging in the USB now, because we need to be able to fish the wires and the USB port through the hole of our new front panel. We're just going to leave these connections loose for now. We'll attach our door, get all the hinges put up and the latches, and then we'll be able to fish the wires through the trap door. That's what we'll call it, trap door. And then we'll be able to connect them. So right now, these don't need them. This is our front panel. This is a 1/4 inch thick board. We stained it with, what was the color stain we used?
Walnut, dark walnut.
Dark walnut, because that matches our cabinets that we have in here. We have a 1-inch hole up here that I cut out with a hole saw. I've already put the hinges on because we are working in a tight space, so it's easier to go ahead and put the hinges on outside where you have more room to work. The other thing I do want to note is I wanted a clean look. I didn't want a whole lot of stuff going on the front, so I didn't want to put any kind of handle or anything. So what I did is I actually went a little oversized from what the size of the sideboard is, so that way it's kind of a false handle. You can get your fingers in on the back side and open it that way. I didn't want any handle, especially with how narrow and tight it is in here, so I thought that was going to be the best solution. So I'm going to hold this up here. I'm going to mark the holes to drill a pilot hole, so that way we can screw the hinges on and get the door attached, and then we'll attach the latch, and then we'll attach the retaining rope.
So right now he's just lining it up to see where he will need to drill the holes for the hinges.
All I want to do first is just drill one hole where I'm going to need it. That way we can hang the door and then fine tune it with the rest of the holes from there. So we'll put one screw in. That's going to be strong enough to hold this door. It's really light. And then we can fine tune the rest of them to make it square with this edge. our hanging pin is what I like to call it, that's holding the door. Now I have more hands free, so I can go ahead and line up the rest of the hinges, drill the pilot holes, and put those screws in. Once you have a couple screws in there to where it's going to hang properly and square, what you want to do before you put the rest of the screws and drill any more holes is you want to close it and make sure it's going to close properly and you have the correct seam all the way around. And like I said, I did a little overhang so you can see I can fit my finger back here just enough to grab it and open it up. All of our hinges are on, all of our screws are in, the door is held in there nice and tight. Just going to check one more time for clearance. We close properly, no issues, perfect. So now what we're going to do is we're going to attach clasping mechanism. And I'll show you what I mean by that. We have these on pretty much all of our cabinets, but it's a male and female system. So you have this little piece here, and then this piece. So we're going to attach this piece into here, and then this piece is going to go on the door so that when the door closes, it's going to swing through and latch, and it's held in there pretty tight. There is a trick to installing these so that way you don't have to measure. On this underside, what's going to attach to the door, there's these little nubs on here. You can't see them, but what I like to do is with these little nubs, I'll install this into the cabinet, and then I will attach this back inside and leave it sticking out just a little bit. So that way when you close the door, these little nubs will make an indent in the wood, so that way you can open the door back up after you've closed it, and you see the indents, you can match it up and then drill in. So it's a nice easy way so you don't have to do a bunch of measuring. We're going to attach this little piece, and these little roller clamps go on the outside. So this is the part where I said you want to leave these roller clasp out far enough so that way you can put this clasp piece that goes on the door in there, so that way it sticks out far enough I can fit my whole finger in here, so when we shut the door, push on it a little bit and it makes indentations on the board, so that way you know where to put it and screw it in. Okay, so we have the indentation marks here. So all I'm going to do is line this up. We're going to drill 2 pilot holes so that we can screw these in. Okay, once this clasp is in here, make sure it shuts. And it does. Now you're going to see it's sticking out some because we have this roller piece sticking out. So what we want to do is loosen these screws now, push it all the way back so it's flush with this board here, and then our door will close so it's flush with the backer board. Now that we have all these rollers pushed back and it's flush with this backer board, we can close the door. And now it closes flush with the back cabinet, and it's also flush with this top piece here. So we're going to install this retention cable. What you want to do is you don't want to install it on the same side that your door's on, because then you're going to have unlimited space for this to open and hit. What you want to do is you want to put it on the opposite side of where your door is going to be, so that way when you open it up you only have as far as your tensioning cable allows. So we're going to install this right up here, get this put into place so the cable's held there, and then we're going to come down around here and we're going to put the door at a 90-degree angle and then pull this tensioner cable tight so it won't go any farther than that. So we'll get this installed on the side first.
And this really isn't a necessity. It's just in the event you're traveling down the road and it does pop open, it's just one extra security.
Okay, so we have our tensioner cable installed. So what we want to do is bring this out to a 90-degree angle, make sure it's not going to hit anything, and then we want to pull this tight as far down as you can go. And what I like to do is I like to find the spot where it's not going to expand anymore or open up anymore. That's the word I'm looking for, open up anymore. And then instead of trying to screw it in while it's tight, close the door just a little bit so you got some slack and it's going to be easier to work with. So. That's tightened down. As you can see, it's not going to go any further than 90 degrees. Let's see. She's got this little air freshener thing here, so we're not hitting that. We're in good shape. And we still close appropriately. Now we're ready to install the USB port. So we're going to fish these wires through the hole, slide the USB port in there. We have the retaining clip that we took off previously, so we're going to slide that on. Like I said, all it holds it tight is a quarter turn, so you don't need to go much further than that. Match it up with the threads. And I'm OCD, so I like to make sure my everything's level. Alright, you can see when we close it, our USB ports are level. They're not up and down. That drives me nuts when they're like that. I don't know why, but it just does. Now we're ready to hook up the wires. Black goes to red. Now when you think about it here, if you put them on this side, there's a potential of these wires getting caught up in this retention cable. So you want to go on the other underside of it so it doesn't get all tangled up. Everything's attached. We can feed our wires back through here, clean it up a little bit. Okay, and then we close it. We're all done. Okay, moment of truth. We're going to make sure it works. And her phone is charging, so it works. That's going to be it for today's episode, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you got some good content out of this. Until next time, guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and then head on over to Instagram and follow us at Longhaul Lifesavers. See you guys!